Of course, the one time I am trying to talk about a pack on sale, and it immediately ends the sale as soon as I click the record button. Just my luck for being too lazy to record this on time. Now, if y'all don't remember what I'm actually talking about here, there's this nice, lovely pack here that was being sold for a whopping, I think it was $54-ish, roughly. So essentially, it's this old, we get the deal, this old deluxe edition of a cabin pack here that had a nice little caveat in the sense that you could get yourself this beautiful workpiece. Yeah, question about that, but first things first, when it comes to packs, there's usually 3 tiers of it. There's a deluxe edition, base edition, and light edition. As you can imagine, a light edition has less overall fancy parts, and generally just has the unique characteristics of the cabin, and not too much more. The regular version, which is this one right in front of you, this is considered the regular version of the Catalina wine pack, or the Catalina just pack in general, contains all the base actual unique features like the cabin itself, also with a bit more added features like coins, fancy weapons, things like that for $30 as opposed to, like, I think it's $14 for the light edition. Then there's the deluxe edition that contains the absolute creme de la crop. So something like this would be considered like a quote-unquote deluxe edition because it has a lot more coins, has fancier cosmetics associated with it, and generally some other features that make it much more valuable. So that could actually be considered the quote-unquote deluxe edition of this Steel Shield pack. So what happens when you're trying to re-release old deluxe editions that may not have their quote-unquote value proposition anymore because it's old news? Well, just give it a fabulous workpiece, which has been received rather well by the community here. If you cannot tell by my obvious sarcasm here, the community did not really care for this at all. Which kind of makes sense, because you have to remember, a workpiece is not the actual item itself. Like, I don't get the Hadron cabin. I get the ability to craft the Hadron cabin when I buy this $54 pack. So if you don't know how workpieces get, you essentially have them as little resources in your inventory here, and then you can go into your inventory, go to the resource section, click on crafting it, and then it brings up a page in which you can actually go ahead, stockpile resources, and then craft the machine or whatever it is that you want to do. Downside is that generally there's a limited amount of these workpieces that you can have here, and as soon as they're gone, there's really no way to easily get them back unless a brand new season or something else comes out that allows you to get more of these workpieces. But an interesting quirk about these workpieces is that generally they're for seasonal weapons, armors, modules, movement parts, whatever. They're for seasonal parts that for a lot of people you already have in bulk. Most people, like me, have the Hadron cabin already. In fact, they probably have a fused version here that is incredibly good and really does not need any sort of upgrades, and it can't be traded anyway. So a lot of people are going to keep this in inventory in perpetuity. The only people that wouldn't have this are usually brand new people, and usually brand new people don't stick around long enough to even mess with these expensive cabins that are going to cost them 2,000 to 3,000 coins base, unless you're on console, which is probably going to cost you multiple magnitudes higher than that. So there's already an existing very limited market of these parts here, so there's not going to be a whole lot of circulation, and there's probably not going to be a whole lot of crafting margin. And on top of that, a lot of these work pieces now require parts that you can no longer craft themselves either, so they're artificially expensive too. So take the Hadron cabin workpiece, it requires the trombone. You cannot craft this anymore. You can tell because when I right click it, it doesn't give me the craft option. However, the photon here, I can craft this. It's in the Dawn Children's factory. I cannot craft the freaking Hadron cabin. What? Well, I can say I can craft it. The issue is I have to go down the part here and actually buy it on the marketplace here, which again is also affected by the fact that there's a limited amount of trombones on the marketplace because there's a limited amount of work pieces. Now, you can say during the season, you can craft an unlimited amount of X, Y, or Z part like the Hewn or the Gunnier or the Northung, things like that. However, when the season ends, I no longer have the ability to make any of these because all these blueprints disappear when the season is over. This used to not be the case, so for example, the original Founders weapons that you got in the first season of this game could actually be crafted in perpetuity if you actually acquire the levels during the season. So if you got the level 75, you can craft anything from the Annihilator drone to the Omnibox to the Big Rams, whatever you'd like. However, after the season ends, there is actually no way to get these blueprints anymore, and effectively becomes limited in a sense that there's a limited amount of people who can actually craft this, and theoretically, farthest down the line, there actually be no one left to craft this thing if there was never a additional supply of it. So anyway, it actually, quote-unquote, gives you an extra value add to the season by kind of punishing players who do not participate. It's kind of like that carrot and a stick approach, where a carrot approach where you'd be able to get something like this in perpetuity. It adds value in perpetuity, but it doesn't necessarily punish you. Like, you don't have to do the season right now. You can do it later, or you can activate it later, or buy it later. That'd be like a carrot approach. A stick approach would be like, do it now, otherwise you don't get access to it ever again. Or if you don't do it now, then you get a reduced value, or it costs more, or some X, Y, or Z thing where it punish you for not participating in a timely fashion. And that seems to be the way that Crossout is kind of doing this deal right now. Or at least they're trying to make the seasons more and more less valuable over time, and more punishing if you don't actually participate, which for Americans is not really the ideal way to go. Now, I had it explained to me a couple of times by developers or moderators within the Crossout Discord that generally Russian and European style people are more used to the stick approach, where they're more at least receptive to it, where when there's more punishments associated with not participating in activity, they're more likely to engage in it. However, Americans kind of have this thing where if you try to punish us or make us do things more often, it generally actually just causes more burnout and more fatigue with the game. In fact, I had an issue where a lot of comments now are coming on my videos talking about these, sunsetted content, this brand new currency that goes away after the season ends, and getting fatigued with it and getting peeved off about it. In fact, I would say a probably good 10 to 20% of my comments nowadays are usually a complaint about this game being in some fashion like that. Do I really interact with that as much? Not really, because I find that to be a little bit too negative for me. But you kind of see there's reason. There's like a source of a lot of this negativity. But I understand what they're trying to do. I understand they're trying to make this deluxe edition here much more of a value proposition here, except this is not really a way that you can kind of sustainably do this. This is a very cheap and lazy way to add it that also has a very limited effect on the market, since you're not really going to get a whole lot of people crafting the Hadron to begin with, especially considering this pack was only available for like, what, a week? 7 days, really? So really, if I was going to be, the developers later on down the line, get rid of that hard idea of work pieces in general. In fact, work pieces should be a thing of the past. Make seasons available year-round consistently. Allow them to actually be available to people to purchase, work on at their pace, anytime at which they want to do. I feel like that would be a much more sustainable, long-term approach to a lot of this, but that's just my opinion here. Or you can just get rid of that, slap in new cosmetics onto this cabinet, something like that, to actually revitalize this old deluxe edition here. Just reselling the old stuff can work here, but it kind of like defeats like the initial FOMO, since people can just think to themselves, oh, this could actually be available in like a couple of months' time, so I really don't have to get it now. In fact, this actually is probably considering a few dollars cheaper than the $60 version this was, because now this one only cost, I think, what, a grand total of $54, so that there you actually probably saved you a few bucks if you actually waited. So really, I just want them to create value through actual creation of something new and unique to a lot of these packs, instead of just trying to beat us over the head with past mistakes or past grievances here with these work pieces, with the FOMO of seasonality content here. Something like that instead, especially considering that a lot of this, it's already undercut by their already previous activities. So, I don't know. Kind of all I can really say about this. So what do you guys think about this brand new pack here? Is this really going to be a good idea going forward here? Yes or no? Let me know down below here. And if you guys have any ideas on how they can actually increase the value of packs without necessarily, adding in a crap ton of coins, which is the really cheap and easy way to do a lot of value add, let me know your thoughts about that down below too. But on that, guys, I want to thank you all again. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.